G'day everyone. We're actually live. We're really excited to be here. We're hoping this is all going to work. It's new for us, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes. So I'm just checking now to see if we can hear. Let me just switch over because I'm not sure we have Aron volume. Can you hear me, Aron?
I can hear you just loud and clear.
That's fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yep, certainly can.
Okay,
We're
but
just checking.
I'm very confused right now because I was told that I was going to do this with Ken, the angry photographer, and you're not Ken. I'm feeling really ripped off right now. Like really
Here's
ripped
Ken.
off.
I've got Ken right here, Aron.
Oh, so he's with us. Okay, we got it. That's good. Hey, everybody in chat.
So this is going to be a weekly thing, guys. We're so excited about what we're going to offer. Now today, look, there's no doubt going to be some mistakes because we're going to build this up over a period of time and we'll obviously get better and better and better at it. Today, it's going to obviously be on my channel. We're going to introduce ourselves in a minute because Aron has his subscribers. I've obviously got mine. So we're going to do a quick introduction. And then next week, it'll be on Aron's channel at the same time as today. So it'll be the same time each week. And we're really excited about it. Aron is absolutely fantastic. And he's got different things to offer than what I have.
Thanks.
So let's start off. We're going to go over a number of things today, but I thought we'd start off first going through some things to talk about basically where we're from. So Aron, do you want to sort of talk about what you, basically your, photography career or videography?
Yeah. Sure. I'll start from the beginning. I grew up in Ohio with a single mother and a sister. And the latest, she took me to the first Star Wars film, as a lot of people my age went to. And that left a really impact for me in movies. But it wasn't until maybe Empire Strikes Back came out where I really remembered the movie. And ever since I saw that, I just really fell in love with, wanted to make movies. I also wanted to get into photography. And what happened was when I was 14, my mom moved us to California, and being there all by myself and not having any friends and stuff, I got into martial arts. I bought a mountain bike, and I bought an SLR camera. And back then it was only, it wasn't digital, it was only film. So I got that first Minolta camera, took some photos, and when I was all excited, I ran to the store to develop the film. And I got home and I spread them all out over my table, and man, they were really bad. I thought it was gonna be a whole lot easier to do photography. So right away I said, I got to fix this. So I started going to libraries and bookstores and reading everything I can about photography, basically. But that movie thing was always in the back of my mind, but then you couldn't really buy cameras to do movie stuff. So if we fast forward to high school, me and my friends bought a camcorder, and we started doing like Saturday Night Live type skits with the camcorder. And I still want to do that movie magic type stuff, but it was really kind of hard to do it back then. And then if we fast forward further, how this all went down is I got married in California for 10 years. Then me and my wife moved to Puerto Rico, where I'm at now. We've been here for about 11 years. And our first year here, we were going to a church, and the pastor asked if anybody in the crowd knew how to work a camera. So being that I learned a lot about photography and kind of dabbled with the cameras, I said, I do. So he said, here's the amount of money we got to buy a camera. So look to see what camera for the stuff we want to do around the church. So that's what really got me going back into the video side of things. And so we did some short films for the church, and people was like really amazed by the quality and all that stuff. So someone in the church was a music artist, and they asked if I wanted to do a music video. And you can actually go on my YouTube channel, go all the way down to the very first video, I think, is that first music video. And I learned how to do special effects in the process of doing that, and motion graphics. And it just led me into other work as far as video is concerned. I did video for Intel, the CPU manufacturer. I did Univision projects for them. I was hired to do cameraman / director for a international TV show called Team Pet Vet. It was like a 3-minute little segment in between cartoons that they would show. And then they moved that whole production then to New York. And that left me with doing another job of documentaries around Puerto Rico about the school districts. And we were really proud because one of those documentaries got a Suncoast Emmy Award. So we're really proud about that. And when you start doing a lot of work like that, you start getting noticed and talk, and it led up to my career today. Now, I was also asked to go to a Jean-Claude Van Damme set, which was shot in Manatee, Puerto Rico. And that was a really cool experience. In fact, you can go to my YouTube channel and see my experience there. And I did some behind the scenes with my iPhone. It should tell you my experience there. And through all of this, my wife always would point out that, hey, everybody wants your photography. They're always asking you to do photography for them. But I was always kind of like, no, I'm a videographer. I don't do photography. But sure enough, my wife convinced me. I got a full frame Nikon D750. This was about 5 years ago, I think, when it first came out. And then I started doing photography. And I started liking photography, maybe not as much as video, but I liked it so much because you can capture a story in like one image with one camera, one lens. And it's like, dude, this is like really easy. Because when you're doing video, you know, I'm working with sliders, jibs, tracks, and all the gimbals and all this stuff, audio, lines for the actors and lighting switches when they walk across the scene and all that. Just to take a photo was just really compelling to me because I could just show everybody a story in one photo. So I started falling back into love with photography, but I still do commercials today for video, but mainly it's photography. So that's it in a nutshell. Cool. Where I came from and how I got to where I'm at right now. And go ahead, David.
I had to laugh because one person down there said I looked uninterested. It wasn't that, guys. I was looking at his amazing work. I was scrolling through the work there. It's just beautiful. And this is the good thing about what Aron and myself will offer. As you know, I'm learning videography. And Aron's sort of also doing a bit of both now. So we're going to sort of play off each other a lot of the time. Yeah. I'm just going to quickly talk about my stuff because for the people on your channel that don't know me, I'm going to make it quick though. So I've been into, photography, I can't remember for how long. I actually started out in an apprenticeship actually for working for magazines and stuff like that where I used to do high-end fashion. So I did that, I can't remember how long ago, it was so long ago. I did that for a fair period of time. I was always in the printing industry, so I have very extensive colour knowledge. And then I went to university and taught at university or lectured at university for around about 30 years. So I did it a long time. Right from the start of digital, I took the original digital where they had the backs that used to connect in teaching all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I've been around for an awful long time. I do have a real fashion background, and that's why fashion always draws me in. So, you know, when you're looking at my work, you'll sort of see that it often does have a very fashion type look to it. That's due to the fact that I came from that area. Originally started out with Nikon, and I left Nikon around about, I think it was 2 years ago, and switched over to Sony because I wanted to start shooting video, and at the time Nikon just couldn't do that, and that's the reason why I went to Sony. But yeah, I mean, it's, if you look both at our Instagram, I'll put the links down below so you can check both of our pages anyway. That's sort of all that I wanted to show you in that aspect. To talk a little bit about what the show's going to be about, we're going to try and make this so that it's not just Sony related. We want to make this so it's open up to photography in general and videography in general. But when we're showing gear, often, unfortunately, there's no way around it for us yet at this stage. We'll probably will only be able to show you a lot of Sony stuff because we just don't have the other gear. Aron, I think, has some. Do you, Aron?
No, just Sony right now.
Okay. But as time goes on, you know, we might be able to get, say, some Fuji involved and some Panasonic involved, Olympus involved, because we'd love to also be showing that type of gear as well. We certainly don't want this to just be about Sony. We want this to be about photography-related things. We're going to have things like a weekly tip. We're going to have a weekly discussion on a number of articles like the news, things like that. So it should be really exciting, you know, where we're going to take you. I am still drinking my coffee, as you all know.
My coffee is real coffee. It's Colombian coffee, and I shouldn't be drinking it because it's so hot right here right now, and I'm like sweating. But hey, got to keep awake.
I love it. And the good part is we've got, different parts of the world here and we're going to interact. We're just going to have a ball, really. And like I said, we might have a few mistakes today, but we'll get better at this as we go along. At least now, when we start the show each week, we'll go straight to probably the weekly topic or what we've been doing in the week. So it'll be quick that, we don't have to sort of introduce ourselves each week and we'll get on with the job sort of at hand. So what we're going to do first, now we are going to answer questions, but we're not going to bring the question box up. We're just going to choose questions that we think are related to today's live show. So if you do want it, today, it will have to be at David Osler because obviously this is on my channel today. Next week, you'd have to put at Aron. So if you did want to say that or get my attention, please make sure you put at David. Aron will be also reading the questions as we're going along as well. And we may even answer questions as we go along too. So let's go to the first story because we wanted to talk about this Olympus
let's do
camera. So let me just move this over the way. Oops. Don't want to move that. Because I wanted to talk about this. The Olympus OM-D EM1X Pro. Have you looked at this camera, Aron? Yeah, see, there we go. So there's an error there. This is where, guys, too, we're going to have some problems. So let me just pull back to this for a minute. Aron, we didn't have audio on you there, so I'll just talk about this for the moment, and then I'll open it up to a discussion with both of us.
All right.
Oh, I might be able to do it there. Just talk now, Aron.
Hello. We're talking about the Olympus.
We can do it there. Yeah, that's fine.
All righty.
So the Olympus here has just been announced, and I'm a little bit confused about where this is going to fit in due to the fact that this thing is so heavy and so big. For a micro 4/3 camera. Now, I don't want this to bag Olympus because I actually have used Olympus mirrorless cameras before and I really like them. Like the stabilization is second to none.
Exactly.
And the image quality, if you're used to micro 4/3, is really quite good. But I'm a little bit confused about where this is targeting at, particularly with its weight, the size of the camera itself, and some of the flaws. Aron, have you looked at this?
Yeah, I have. When it first came out, I started looking into it because I shot micro 4/3 since the Panasonic GH2, so it's quite a long history of micro 4/3 actually. But yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of confused at it because, did they have to make it so big and heavy? I don't think so, and I think they're just trying to hit that target of sports and wildlife photography. But then also you got to know that I tried doing wildlife photography with micro 4/3, Panasonic G9 actually, just with a 100mm lens. And when you're in like a wooded area, it can be really low light. So in a situation like that, I don't know, but I think it would be a good camera if you're out in the fields and there's just adequate light. The cool thing about something like this is because it's a micro 4/3, you can have long lenses. You can have all the light coming in of, let's say, an f4, but still you have more in focus for those type of shots. For you don't want to mess up the shot of sports and focus on the football and his face is blurry or something like that. So I think it's only really targeting that. I don't know who else it would be for, really.
I'm just laughing. Someone in the chat said, David, you look like a helicopter pilot. That's from Ricky.
You know what? You do, but I was going to keep that to myself.
I love it. Look, it does have an articulated screen, and that's one good thing, that fantastic that they've actually done that, but I don't think the quality is that good either from the reviews that I've seen.
Yeah, but who's going to use it for that type of target? I don't know.
The interesting thing is here, I had a GH5 for quite some time, and I found that the letdown was in the noise area. Now, if this is targeted at, say, sports photographers, the problem is you need high shutter speeds. If you're filming football or whatever you're going to do, you need very high shutter speeds to stop the motion. Now, the second you're in low light scenarios and you have to use these fast shutter speeds, the only way of getting around that is to use fast glass and then up your ISO. But the problem here is the second you up the ISO on this, you can't get away from physics. this is going to have an issue with noise. And this is where I
Exactly.
don't quite understand with what they're doing with this camera.
Exactly. That's my whole point. And working with Micro Four Thirds for so many years, low light situations are an issue, and it goes for a wildlife as well. You want to capture the image of the bird or of the tiger running away or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of a confusing camera. I think under the right circumstances, it would be good. I was thinking, now I did a runway shoot not too long ago with the A7 III and the Sony 24 to 105 f4. And most photographers, when you're doing runway shoots, you're at like an f5.6 or more. And that's what I did on that runway with. So as far as like, it would work for certain situations, but again, they're giving you features that just don't make sense. So I don't get it. When I read the comments on the forums that this camera is, a lot of people kind of feel the same. I want to see a review though from someone who basically knows how to use it, or it's for them. So
yeah,
we'll find out, I guess.
I hate to say this, but I think Olympus are in trouble. I think if you look at what's gone on with Panasonic, for instance, and we're going to discuss that camera shortly, but with the Panasonic, they've probably seen the writing on the wall here, and they're developing a full-frame camera now to push themselves in that area. Now, the problem for Olympus, I think they probably should have also gone that area or have done something different. I really can't see this selling very well, Aaron. I just can't see it doing good at all.
No, I don't either. It's a very niche, like very niche. People who like Olympus, people who shoot sports or wildlife in lidded conditions. Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing to a lot of people. I think they're in trouble too if this is their big gun ho into trying to squash the other man. And then it's competing against all these other full frame, and the price. We didn't even say the price is like expensive, So
yeah, well, it's $3,000. Now, the interesting thing here too is that it's using some AI. So that's one great thing, and I have to say that Olympus have done a fantastic job here in using AI to stitch images together to give you more bigger files and larger files, which is fantastic. And they've got that AI, which obviously companies like Sony, Canon and Nikon also probably have to move down. They really have done fantastic apparently in that area to give you these really high-end files. The stabilization apparently is 7.7 stops or something, which is nuts. I mean, that seriously is crazy. They say you can hand hold this, at say up to something like 2 seconds or even longer, which is just crazy. So there's certain features about the camera that's brilliant, but if this had come out in a small camera like the GH5, you could have said, well, yes, it's probably a pretty good release, but not for full, not to compete and have this as a sports camera.
I feel the same. With that big of a price, that big of a camera, there's not too many people going to buy it with the small sensor. Yep, I think they're in trouble. I don't know. Have you seen any reviews of anybody saying like, oh, this is the perfect camera for me because I do something?
No, and I'm even seeing people like Hero who's said here in the chat that I started out with an Olympus EM1 and ended up at full frame and will never go back. And this is the problem, that they're now going to compete with Panasonic, and I'm not sure. I hope Panasonic don't get rid of the GH5 series, because that is a fantastic camera and I loved having it. The only reason I sold that was because it got a little bit confusing with using Panasonic menus and then the Sony menus, and I was getting confused because I do Fusion. I was having to change very quickly, and doing that was very, very hard, so I got rid of the Panasonic. Also, the low light noise in receptions and things wasn't very good.
Exactly. And like, who was it that said it? Hero. I did the same thing, Hero. When I went with the full frame Nikon D750, and that's when I kind of went away from Micro Four Thirds. I did get the G9 and a few more, but then I came back to the Sony full frame. And once you do that, man, just the IQ and the low light and everything else that comes with full frame, I couldn't go back to a Micro Four Thirds, that's for sure. I think a lot of people feel the same.
Well, even Gian there says, so no Micro Four Thirds should be over $2,000. And this is the problem that they're dealing with here. Yes, I understand it's got fantastic weather sealing, and it's built like a tank in that regard, and they do put rubber seals around everything. Now, they showed it Tony Northrup showed it with I think it was freezing it with water as against the Sony A9 or the A7 III, and both cameras survived. But I can tell you the Sony series of cameras are not weather sealed like what the Olympus or the Panasonic are. On these cameras, everything has rubber seals around every area, so the weather sealing is better, but it's flawed for the marketplace that this is aimed at, which is the sports photographer. It's flawed, and I think it's a pity that, you know, I love competition and I want the whole industry to survive, but
me too.
I don't think this is going to be a good release.
No, and we were talking about weather sealing. We're going to be talking about a new camera coming out too that's weather sealed and it's full frame, so yeah, I think this is going to be a really bad release for them.
Now, I had on this just a quick discussion that, you know, the competition of this camera, we're looking at the Sony A9, obviously. The other two we're looking at is the Nikon D5. They're going to bring out a new camera very soon. And also the Canon 1DX Mark II, I think it is. The competition of this camera. Yes, they may be a little bit more expensive. But here in Australia at the moment, I can buy the Sony A9 for the same price that I would have to pay for the OM-D, the EM1X. And that's nuts. There's no way you can compare that camera to what the Sony A9 is with the rebates that are on the Sony at the moment. Now, that's rebates that are there. They may not stay, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I'm just a bit confused about it anyway. I don't want to talk much more about that because we're going to go to the next story. But, yeah, you know, it's interesting what they're competing with. It's
true. I can't say much more than I think it's going to be a flop.
So that's that discussion. The next one that I wanted to talk about is this, the Panasonic. Because there's rumours that it'll be announced on January the 31st. And this is really exciting. I can't wait to see what these cameras actually show. Just to look at some of the specs quickly that this is, there's going to be two versions of this camera. There's going to be an S1 and there's also going to be an S1R. Now, the S1 is 24 megapixel. It's going to have dual IS in-body stabilization, contrast AF detect technology. Now, that worries me because if it's like the Panasonic version, and this is why I don't understand, Olympus have given us phase detection on their mirrorless camera. I'm not sure why Panasonic can't do phase detection as well on the chip, and I'll pass over to you in a minute, Aaron.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to have highest resolution EVF, and that looks fantastic because it's a 5.6 million dot EVF. Deep learning AI, so it is going to incorporate also this AI technology. It's going to have a QXD card slot and one SD card slot, 3-ax tiltable LCD. We know it will be 100% weatherproof because it'll be the same thing as the GH5. It's also going to have high resolution mode, probably using that AI, and HLG photo, and it ships in March, they're saying. The other thing is the SR1 is 47 megapixels, and that does 4K 60. Oh, no, they both do 4K 60, which is fantastic. What do you think about these releases, Aaron?
Yeah, this is probably, being that I love Panasonic, is probably one of my most exciting releases. And this looks like a winner compared to like the OM-D, whatever that one was called. I can't remember the name. It's kind of long. But I think this one's a killer right here. I mean, you got 4K 60p. I don't know why they took the flippy screen out of it. That's really weird. It's almost like they have this. It's a conspiracy, like our friend over at the conspiracy channel. It really is a conspiracy. How you do flippy screens all the time, and then you come out with your full-featured, full-frame camera, and then you don't have a flippy screen. I don't get it. The HLG photo, I'm not too excited about. I don't have that technology to view that, except if it's on the camera and all that type of thing, and you need the whatever. But the 4K 60p is something I loved about my Panasonic G9. And when I did a video talking about will the Sony A7 III replace the G9, well, it did. And in that video on my YouTube channel, I said the only thing missing from the Panasonic G9 was a full frame sensor. And this looks like this is it, except for the minus of the flippy screen. Me personally, I would just stick with the 24 megapixel camera because that 47 megapixels is more than what I need. And then if you need a bigger amount of megapixels on the 24 megapixel S1, you can do that. What do they call that? Where it takes multiple photos and gives you like an 86 megapixel photo. Yeah, so if there was I do product photography as well, and if there's ever a situation where I'm going to do something that needs more megapixel, I would probably use that feature. So that's pretty good. Stabilization is always good. Weather sealing. This camera looks really good, in my opinion. What does the chat feel about this anyway? Are they saying anything
Not much.
about this?
I don't know if it excites them. Look, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about on this. That it has 4K 60p, so that's one real plus of this camera. And I cannot, for the life of me, understand why Sony are not giving us something to combat that. Yes, I know it might happen, but we keep hearing something's going to happen, and then it doesn't eventuate. And I'm getting a little bit frustrated because I do need another video camera. So that's one thing about this, that this has 4K 60p. I would probably think that the stabilization is going to be very good, knowing how Panasonic work, but I'm not 100% sure about their focus though. So this is the thing we have to wait and see whether they've really improved that contrast detect AF to make up for how it is in the GH5. We're going to have to wait and see, but it definitely has some advantages. It's got the QXD slot, which is much more robust. It's got the 4K 60p there as well, and I'm sure the video side of this will be stellar if you look at what the GH5 is like, and the GH5S, are pretty good. So we don't know yet how the low light's going to be, but I would expect, being full frame, that it probably should be very, very good. We don't even know who the sensor is, I don't believe, do we? Or is it Samsung?
No.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet. So I'm just looking in the chat to see if anyone says it. GM says Panasonic stays there as stills-oriented cameras, but they can do 4K 60. So perhaps they are just tailoring this at the stills images, but it'll be interesting to see how the video is.
Well, what's interesting about the Panasonic G9 is when I switched to the Sony, I had a lot of Panasonic subscribers to my YouTube channel, a little upset with me, but and I had a lot of comments saying your video looked better with the Panasonic G9 than the Sony A7 III. And when I look back, I kind of would agree with them, and that was only because I was shooting at 4K 60p and they're not seeing the motion blur. So I really would like to have 4K 60p. The only thing that would kill that for me is the autofocus. When you have a Sony A7 III, I mean, taking photos with this thing is so easy. I mean, I could get on the ground and just point in a direction, hold the eye autofocus, and get sharp shots. And brides coming down, I would always have an issue with Panasonic cameras trying to get a lot of shots in focus. So that's the only thing, except for that, that learning AI thing. If they can say, ooh, that's a person walking, and the camera doesn't have to do all that searching to find out what they need to focus, and it says that's a person, stay right here, and it can do something special, then maybe it's good, but it better be at least 90% of what my Sony can do as far as focusing, continuous autofocus.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I saw on Sony Alpha Rumors this morning that they said that there is now I can't remember if it was an SR5, but they're saying that there's going to be a new camera released in the first half. It keeps getting pushed back. We don't know. I mean, at one stage we were hoping that WWPI could be announced. There still may be, but Sony really have to up their game and give us something that could compete with 4K 60. Now, if you look at APS-C, we've got Fuji, the X-T3 can do it, which beats anything that Sony have got in that regard. Now, yes, it may not be as good if you're talking about the focus of the A6400, but it does have much better bit depths. It'll be much better for video than what the Sony cameras are at this stage. So I think if you're talking about video only, they've beaten Sony with their X-T3, and the Panasonic clearly will beat Sony if you're dealing with that. They've got 4K 60p as well. So that has to be answered, and I don't know why Sony's taking so long.
Yeah, well, every time I watch your videos, you're always saying ooh, Sony's waiting for this camera to be released before they and the cameras keep going by and they're still waiting. So I don't know if they're just really waiting for the the Panasonic one, or they're just still tweaking things out to make something spectacular. So who knows?
Well, Gerald said yes, it was an SR5, so that's an SR5. Now, they did say that there was a camera model number released, but they think it's for an RX0, or 0, RX0. So I don't know. I'm just getting a little bit frustrated waiting. I know people say to me, David, be patient, but I'm running a business and I need something that will give me good video as I now shoot Fusion so much. So I'm hoping that they do something soon, but we just have to wait.
Yep, we got to wait.
All right, so next story. I wanted to bring this one up because this is interesting, and I wanted to show people this because I had a discussion about this in my show a little while ago. This is this Godox S-R1 adapter, but I believe you can't get it yet. I think some people mentioned to me somewhere that they couldn't actually find it, but it is going to be released.
I don't see it available.
Adapter. Yeah, it's this round adapter that you sit on your flash, and then you can use all of these attachments connected to your to your flash itself. You can see how they're all adapted here. It's actually taken off this one, which is the Profoto A1, which I have used, and I've actually done a review on this. I
missed that. I didn't see you have a review on that.
It's probably 12 months old, Aaron, so it's a fair way back. I got a review of that before it was released from Profoto. But
cool.
The interesting thing is that I'm not sure. I'd love to know in the chat, guys, what you think about this. I'm not 100% sure that with the Profoto one, the original rumor that I saw of this, it was actually a round head, which I think would make it better. Yes, I know this is probably going to still work, but I was hoping Godox would have brought one out that was round rather than having the adapter on there. It's going to be interesting to see how this works in practice. So it's an interesting concept, and I'd love to know what some people in the chat think about this. Yeah, they're saying Gerald says it's not available yet, no pricing.
Well, I thought I saw a Godox with the round head on it today looking up this thing. If anybody in chat's seen it also. So I don't know what I saw or what it was, but it was a Godox with the round head. As far as this attachment goes, putting that on, I have the Godox V862s, and the guide number on these are actually more powerful than the Profoto A1. I think I read that the guide number, they actually went by milliseconds. The 76 milliseconds. I have it somewhere here. The guide 76 milliseconds of the Godox, they said, is around 40. The guide number, and this cheap thing here is 60. So I don't know if you got that attachment on here. I mean, wouldn't the light look the same, and you're getting a little brighter output? Of course, you're not going to have the recycle time as that other one, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I would like to see some reviews on it to see it comparing the Profoto. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the problem is, I suppose, with the Profoto, it is very, very expensive. You can probably buy
really
three of those Godox flashes for that price. The thing I loved about the Profoto one was that it had the continuous light as part of that, and I found that very, very useful when I was shooting. That you had a continuous LED part to it as well.
That is nice. Yes.
Yeah, that worked very well. I have the Sony flashes though, so I've got three of those. I think it's the HLV 50s. I think they are, and I love those as well. So I'd never get rid of my speed lights. Admittedly, I don't use them much now. That I'm using more of the higher ended strobes. But they are very handy if you're traveling and you want to work very light. But this is interesting, and I might even have a look at this. I've mentioned to my subscribers all along, I'd love to have a go of some of the Godox stuff and try it and just to review it. And that could be an area where I can do stuff on this channel with you, Aaron, and we'll get things going. So it's an interesting concept. I love the attachments. Like I said, it's basically a takeoff of the Profoto exactly.
I think I think the output will look the same. I mean, it's all you're doing is putting, you're changing that into that. I think it would. I don't know if anybody would ever tell a difference if you took one with one and one with the other and said which one was it. I really don't think you would notice a difference, except the brightness on this would be more because of the guide number. But who knows?
I just had to thank Ricrat too, because he gave a donation. Sitting with my A6500 waiting for the Mini A9 A7000. That we have been rumoured since, September?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it. I know, it's terrible. Like I said, it gets so frustrating just waiting around. It really is, horrible. All right, well, that's the news. So that's basically all the news that we've got coming up. Now we're going to go to Aron is going to discuss some of his Pocket cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. Now, I've just got to check too, because I'm not sure we've got audio on that, Aaron. So let me just see if I can bring that up.
Now, the clips I gave you have no audio. So
no, they've got no audio. I'm just going to see if I can.
There is none.
Put your audio on there. Where are we? I think it's that aggregate. Change audio aggregate. I've just realised I had to do this. Change audio aggregate, and then I'll switch over, because what we've got Aaron going to show some of his footage from the Pocket, the Osmo Pocket camera. That should be great, because you used it, Aaron, didn't you, the other day? Just explain a little bit about what you did, and then I'll bring him up.
Well, you know, I got this little Pocket, and like I said, I still do. Am I still there? You got me? Okay, hello. And this is absolutely amazing, this little thing right here. I was, when I first got it, it was just in Christmas time. I was at my my mom's house, and I wanted to do some YouTube videos. And the cool thing is that everybody probably knows this, but since it has facial tracking on it, I set it on a tripod, and it's like having my own cameraman. I walked from the living room, and I sat down on the couch, and it just followed me. So it was cool for that. But then I started looking at the quality of the video in reasonable light, and it looked amazing. So 2 days ago, I was hired to take some video clips of a bridal show, and I do this for them every year. I take the clips together, and we make a 30-second commercial to broadcast on TV. And I was really like, should I try this? You know, so I went the day before, and I took some test footage while people were setting up their booths and all that. And my gosh, when I got home that night, I looked at the footage like, that is absolutely wonderful, completely doable. So I said, you know what? Instead of using, I don't have my gimbal, but instead of using the Sony a7 III and a gimbal, I said, what would it be like just to use this little thing and keep it in auto? Now, just know that the clips that I'm doing, it's completely reasonable, because it's going to be 30 seconds, really quick, and so I could experiment. And so I went out, and I sent David a couple clips just so you guys get the idea of how I used it. And the clips you're going to see are straight out of camera. It was 4K 60p. I took it down to 1080, and I just clipped all the crap out. I took the audio out, and when I rendered it out, I didn't render it in the highest quality, because we're doing this YouTube live stream.
Let's try looking at that now, and I'll switch it on. Hopefully your audio will come through. So I'm going to switch to it now.
I'm going to X out. I don't see it. Is it playing? Yeah, so, you know, just doing simple shots like that, it's just a fake slider shot, so I can use that in a piece. And we'll go through these real quick if you want to play the next one. It should be called forward back. I don't know. I don't see it. Hello, hello. Yeah, it's just a maneuver that you could use with this little thing and get some dynamic shots without having a big camera and gimbal with you. Yeah, I can't see anything, so I don't know what's playing there. Yeah, that one there is just, you know, these are so light that I held that like as tall as I can over people's head, and I just held it there, and it looks like, you know, it's stable as a tripod, 4K 60p. The quality is amazing. Low light performance was absolutely great. So there you could do that. Yeah, it's a low light pan down, and I was just shocked when I got home and seeing that there's like, they're doing an algorithm in there to take out the noise, because it looked amazing. I'm flying blind here. I don't know what we're seeing, but it's a nice. And then this is the 4K 60p in slow motion, so you guys have an idea on that. And if it's playing, you can see that. So running around with this little thing was just, it felt ridiculous, but it was so easy, you know, to get all these shots. And it's a really good B-roll type camera. I'd like to do a little more professional stuff with it when an audio adapter comes out for it, hooking it up with a better audio so we can use audio. So just wanted to share that with you guys, that it's an amazing camera. If you need something for B-roll, it's perfect.
Yeah, and like I said, I've also got it, but I've only used it for that one review that I did, and I have to use it again because it was pretty good. And it was quite interesting. When we were going through that, like I said, that's one thing where we're learning about how this goes. There's some audio issues there at the beginning, but then I think it worked.
I'm confused a little bit here too.
Yeah, it got confused because Aron can't see it. We're probably going to look at different software in the coming days. I might go to OBS. At the moment, I'm using Wirecast on my end, but the issue is Aron can't see the stuff real time. So we'll probably go to OBS, and then hopefully we can see each other's desktop live. Then it'll be a lot easier where we can share things over. So just bear with us for that sort of period of time until we can, get all this up and running. But so I'm just going to quickly switch through just to show you again these images very quickly. Now that Aron, I think the audio is going to work. But so this is the fake slider. Again, I'm just only going to show them very fast.
Yeah. Are they playing right now?
So you could see the quality's pretty good. I mean, it really is amazing what you can get from, these little devices that are coming out now. How did you shoot that, Aron? In 4K 60, was it?
Yeah, 4K 60p. And one thing that there's a video called Like a Flippy Screen. And the cool thing about this was I was behind the stage. Let me turn this on. If you see the video there, it's like a flippy screen if you want to put that up. But the cool thing is, since we don't have a flippy screen on something, I was behind the stage. I don't know what we're seeing, but I was behind the stage, and the girls would walk out that way. And instead of sticking my head out in the camera and filming it and people seeing all that, I just stood like this, and then I moved the head of the gimbal that way. And if this was the wall, I just barely peeked that out and got those shots of the girls walking out. So, it's kind of like a flippy screen in a sense. You're not flipping the screen, you're actually flipping the camera itself. So you could hold it up like this and point it down, or low and point up. So it's kind of a weird way to think about, instead of flipping the screen, you're flipping the actual camera. So it worked out pretty good.
I was really surprised at that footage when you sent it to me. I thought, wow. I suppose the lighting was very good though, was it?
No, the lighting actually is not good there. I actually filmed commercials there, I don't know how many now, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, twice a year. And when I had my Micro Four Thirds cameras, I always noticed like a lot of noise, and I was shooting at f1.8. And that's why I was shocked with that. I shot at the same venue so many times with Micro Four Thirds, and then that, and I was just like, this is nuts. And you're seeing basically a low quality render of the videos. Once I get in there and I do my little post-processing magic to it, it's going to look absolutely amazing, and the client's going to love it. And I mean, look at that. It's just ridiculous.
So that little grip you also made, didn't you? You didn't purchase that. You made that little grip. Yep.
Yeah, because I was at my mom's house, and David bought one, but I was at my mom's house, and they didn't have this out yet, and I didn't have one available. So I just basically took a Arca Swiss release plate thing that goes on the bottom of the camera. This is just a cheap, iPhone holder. Then I took a metal ruler. I don't remember how long it was, and I kind of bent it into the shape that I needed by just prying on stuff. And yeah, I made a little holder for it, because I would never hold it like this. This just seems really, really scary to me. So if you're going to get a setup like this, at least buy one of those. You can use it just like this as well, but when you have it on here, you can pan both left and right and up and down. When it's by itself, you can only go up and down unless you get the accessory wheel. But I would just get, 2 of those, bigger screen, and it worked amazing.
Yeah, looks great. I'll have to use it obviously more. I need to get it out. The funny thing is, I've had it sitting there, and I got in trouble off Kerry when I bought it. I haven't hardly used it. I just make sure I won't tell her. So that's that done. Now we're going to talk now about one of our pieces. So we're going to show you some of our work. Now, what we're going to do each week is we're going to show you one of our images that we've captured, and then we're going to show you or discuss with you what we were thinking when we captured it, and also how it was achieved. So, you know, the techniques behind getting the image up. So let me just bring up this, because I'm just going to work out where we are for here so I can open this up.
Keep track of everybody. Thanks everybody for being here in the chat. Thanks Rycrat for the donation to David. We appreciate that. And thanks for everybody being here. I really enjoy and love to talk to you guys.
Okay, so Aron, what we've got your image up. This is the image where it's showing you
the behind the scenes.
Yes, the behind the scenes. So if you want to sort of take us through that.
Yeah, I'll take you through the behind the scenes here. Let me bring it up myself so I can see it. So here's the behind the scenes. Now, this was a magazine shoot that we did maybe a month ago, and we had six or seven girls to do, 8 dresses. So it was like a packed day. And when I got to the location, beautiful house, I was there by myself, me and my wife. She helps me out with my photography and stuff. And I walked through the house looking to where I'm going to do each model with different dresses and all that. And I walked through this area here, and it was a pool table. And in my mind, I said that would be kind of cool to have a girl in a wedding dress at a pool. But I don't know if the magazine would like that. Wasn't sure, but I had it in the back of my mind there. And so then the guy you see holding the 3-in-1 reflector there, his name's Robert. He's the one who supplies the models and all that. I took him then through all the locations in the house that I want to do. And when we walked past this, I said, hey, do you think this would be? And he finished the sentence that this would be an amazing place. So I was cool that they were good at photographing that here. The problem is this room was probably the ugliest room in the house. I hate blank walls. I don't like empty space. I like to fill my frame up with stuff, whether I'm doing video or photography. And so when I was thinking about this place, that light that you see on the back was not there. It was just very boring. And my original idea was to basically make what we called in like the film industry, it's called a cucaloris. If you don't know what a cucaloris is, it's they use the word cookie for short, and what it is basically cutting a design out of foam core or whatever. You can buy them, but we would just cut designs out of foam core, and then we would shine a light through this pattern, and then we would splash a shadow pattern on the wall just to break up the wall so it wouldn't look so plain and boring. And that's something I use a lot in my video and everything else. So I didn't have any foam core with me, so I was going to shine a light through those bushes you see on the left and have a shadow of bushes breaking up the monotonous, boring wall. And so that was my idea. When we were shooting other girls, we came back, and now I saw that God had provided us with absolute his own shadows and light on there. So I said, we got to do this really quick. So we set everything up because that light wasn't going to be there very long. And the problem was the light was hitting the model in the face, and I didn't want to blow out her face and the dress and all this other stuff. So I had Robert hold that 3-in-1 up there so the light wouldn't hit her in the face. And then I set up the same, I don't know if you guys can see, but if we go back to my footage here, the Apollo Orb Westcott, it's a 46-inch octabox, I think. And I had that set up. And how I did this, David, if you want to show the actual photo now.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, so the actual photo here was, in that behind the scenes photo you saw was me posing her. And once we got her posed down, what I did basically was I exposed for the bright light hitting the wall, because I wanted to bring the ambient down because it's a boring room. I have other shots that we're not going to go through in this area here, but exposed for the light hitting the wall. And then I adjusted the octabox to fill her in how I wanted it, and that's how I did it. And I used the Sony A7 III with the Sony 24-105 f4 lens, and I think I shot this at 72 millimeters. I was at 100 ISO. I was at f6.3, and a shutter speed. I have it. Now I forgot that. Let me find it. The shutter speed was 0.02 of a second. So that's how I got this shot. And one thing you'll notice that in that behind the scenes photo, there was this ugly lamp on the wall I didn't like. So I had to Photoshop that out. And then just to make the billiards look a little more interesting, I set them up in their little pyramid thing there, and I crossed the sticks. And that's how we got around it. Now, the angles were difficult too. There's other photos from this because we couldn't move the table. So you got to kind of work with it. So that is my photo of the week to explain to you guys how I got it. And I think later we're going to do some questions if you have any questions about that. So I'm done, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's lovely. We just had ND said focus seems to be on the chest instead of the eyes. That's probably just YouTube compression. It does that with all my images. Yep.
Yeah, it's f5.6, so she was completely in focus.
Yeah. All right, so we'll look at my image, and I'll just show you the original here. So you can see this was one I did on last Friday night. And I did this down in Melbourne Docklands, and Kate is a high-end model that I was working with. So if you see the video, she's amazing in it. But if you're looking at what's happened here, I lit Kate up it was the Profoto. Now, it wouldn't matter what flash you use. It could be any flash that's there, but you can see it just over that side through there. And I was using quite a hard reflector at the time. It was actually called the Magnum reflector, which gives really contrasty light and boosts the stop of the flash by 2 stops. I don't know what voodoo they do, but it actually works. And it does increase it by 2 stops. But it was getting so dark and dull at that time that I had to diffuse it. So I stuck just a bit of cloth. It's one that goes on another modifier. I just put that over the modifier that you can see here. So you can see that it's lit her up quite nicely from this background. This shadow that's coming through here is actually from a light that was beaming across outside the area through that sort of side. So my intention was to just light up Kate as good as I could without throwing too much light on this background. Like I said, most of this light that's coming through here was a light that was out of the frame itself. I used 1/320th of a second. It was f1.8 and ISO 100. And it was the 35mm 1.4 lens. Now, I wasn't worried. I wanted to show the background in this case to not be totally out of focus because I love the boat that's in the background. It's $50 million or something, and I wanted that high-end look here. And I wanted to try and maintain the lights that are sort of showing through the areas through here. So I had to be careful with the exposure that I wasn't blowing those areas out. And if we look at the finished result, this is it here. So I've basically just brought a little bit of contrast into the background, and I've allowed the boat to still show detail but being a little bit softer with that focus that's on Kate in this area as well. She loved these images. I've got a whole series of these, and there's a video of it if you want to check it out as well. People often say, why isn't the background more out of focus because it was at 1.8? That's because of distance. I was a reasonable way away from the boat. So that's why the boat is not so out of focus. If I got in very close to Kate, the background would have been thrown way out and it would have been very soft, but I didn't want that in this scenario. I wanted Kate in the focus and also the background to be in focus in the one shot. So yeah, that just gives you an idea about how that works. So
yeah, that's an amazing shot right there. I love that. I don't know if you guys was you hoping it would be dark and gloomy, did you say, or it just happened to be like that?
No, it happened to be like that. It was a very, very hot day, yeah.
It works perfectly with her clothes because if you ever go to my website, AronJAnderson.com, you'll notice that almost all of my photos are color coordinated with the models and the backgrounds, and that outfit goes perfect with that scene right there. Love it. Amazing.
I'm just laughing at Michael because he said, "Hi, Dave. You know that's just one of your 10 ships in the harbour."
Yeah.
Someone said to me the other day, I probably bought that ship due to the fact I had selling all the presets that I sold.
Oh, the presets, yeah. Going off of your mimicking that one guy. Yeah, that's funny.
Now we're going to go to the weekly tip. So we're going to go to Aron's tip first. And then I've got a weekly tip. So each week we're going to have, like I said, an image that we've captured, and we'll take you through how we got it. And each week we'll also give you at least one tip. Some weeks it might be a bit more, some weeks there will always be one tip. All right, so let's go. I'll cross over to Aron, and Aron will show your tip.
Yeah, so the tip I wanted to show first on our grand opening show here was something that people ask me all the time, because they always see my travel photography, and this is going to tie in later to this too, but they always ask me, how do I change lenses when I'm shooting primes? And this is also for travel or weddings. And I use one of these Peak Design bags. They work really good. And let me take my my hearing aids off there. And the way I change out lenses, maybe you guys can see this, is it's always hands-free. I used to use backpacks when I travel, and I would always have to take the backpack off, put it on the ground. The ground might be dirty or wet or whatever, and just taking it off was kind of annoying. And I was always fiddling around with lenses, so I was always out looking for a quick prime lens type of release thing. And I know they have this one thing that is on the outside, like a belt that you can, but it's kind of fiddly. So I just used one of these, and inside this is, of course, I don't know if you can see that, I have 3 compartments. And now I'm someone who don't carry a lot of gear with me, or even own a lot of gear. And what I usually do is have like 2 primes in there, and then one on the camera, and an empty slot. And the way I would do this now, how I've been doing it on my last couple of trips, is while I'm taking photos like this, I can easily, I'm not going to stand up because I'll be out of frame, but you just take it off like this, and you open the bag, pick out your other one. And by the way, I always keep my lens caps off on both sides, because I'm not too much scared of the dust, and I clean my bag out, so it's usually kind of dust free. But then you just put it on the camera like that, and I never have to put my bag down. And I use a spider grip too, so when I'm doing this process, I'm not scared of dropping my camera. So that's like a tip that everybody's been asking me, and I never did a video about it. But as I'm shooting and I want to switch, I put this in the empty spot, I pick out the other one and put it on like this, and I'm good to go. And I just swing this behind me, and that's my tip for the week. It's a simple tip, but a lot of people ask, and there you have it. It's my tip, David. Done. Let me get my hearing aids back on.
Thank you very much. That was great. The tip I'm going to show you is just something a little bit different, because I wanted to sort of talk to you about, everyone tends now to be going to softboxes and stuff, and I think this is one of the least things that people forget, actually, that you can use and get amazing results from it. So I'm just going to show you. Initially, what I'll show you is, I used to travel with this. So this is the 2-foot Octa. Now, this does have advantages that I'll talk about, that it's also got a grid on so that I can control where the spill goes. I'll just show you back here. Now, the problem with that is that it's very cumbersome sometimes to carry around if you're trying to travel real light. So what some of you can use is an umbrella, and a lot of people just seem to forget this, and you don't see these used much anymore. This was a Zumba. I can't remember who made this, but this is great, because what it does, it's this size, and then when you open it up, it folds out. So if I open it like this, it will open up. Now, these are fantastic, because you can use these with the speed lights that Aron was looking at earlier. You can use it with high-end flashes, and it's a really quick way that you can just have something in your camera bag when you need it, and to shoot very, very soft if you need that. And so I always put this into my bag as a soft modifier if I need to. One of the interesting things here, though, is that I actually... I'm just going to switch back. Aron wasn't there. I actually like to shoot very harsh now, and that's one of the great things about shooting the way I do at the moment. And I'll show you I want to just grab that modifier to show you what it's like. Hang on for a second. Oops. Oh, it's gone. So this is the modifier that I normally use, and it's very, very hard, and it works gives a very contrasty image. That's the one that I love to use so much. But if if I then want to grab something very soft, I can just take this off and I can put the other umbrella on. The only thing you've got to watch is that you can't control spill as much as, say, using a softbox where we had the grid around it, which is interesting. So there you go. So that's the tip I wanted to use. Always have an umbrella that you can just stick into your bag, and hopefully if you do get in the need to use it, it's there. Have you got an umbrella, Aaron?
Yeah, I was going to say this actually. I'm glad I didn't wait for your tip. But when it comes to like those modifiers for this, I mean, you've got, I'm not going to call out any brands, we'll just leave it at that. But you got all these different modifiers for here. And really, man, for so many years, I always just fell back on an umbrella just like you have right there. It gives me the softest light. I've tried other modifiers, the smaller ones, Now, something like this, the bigger the light source, the closer it is, the softer you get.
You can mention the brand you use, though.
Well, the only thing I've been using was if this is too big or I'm on my own or me and my wife are doing out, I just use a flash disc. I should have had it on here, but I didn't know you talk about it. Just a flash disc, and I compared depending on what's that other MagMod or whatever those are called.
Yeah, MagMod.
I compared all these. All these are great items, but I just found that a simple reflector that you showed actually works the best, and I noticed that. When you get further away from your subject, you almost can't even tell the size, and it just becomes a blurry mess. So I use those little ones that you just showed up all the time. Maybe I'll do a video on that because they work great. Yeah. So I agree with your tip.
And like I said, it's great to just keep one in your bag because you never know when you're going to use it, and that's the great part. Often, my assistant will hold that with the flash sort of against it if I'm doing it that way, if I'm using it with speed lights. Most of the larger end speed lights will have the hole that you can stick the shaft through, so that it works that way. And it's just
great.
And it just works fantastic. And that's basically it for our tip for today. And now we're just going to have a very short question and answer time. I'm just going to open up the chat here and just read a few off that we can look at, the ones that we've highlighted. I Am Brown just said too, just read out that the FS5 has got RAW output. Is that a new update, I Am Brown? That's interesting. What else have we got through here? Langston said, I just ordered the actual round head as well.
For
so
what?
You've just ordered it. That must be that flash, the Godox one.
Oh, so you can order it.
Yeah, must be. Where did you get that from, Langston? That's interesting. Photomiax said, and she has nice quads. Keep it nice.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Gerald says, Godox has a new round head coming. Showed it at Photokina. They already have an older round head. Interesting.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm telling you. I saw a Godox with a round head built into it. So I knew I wasn't crazy when I saw that. I just never seen it for sale yet.
Yep. I Am Brown also said Robert Hall Photography posted a few videos on the SR1. I got the impression that they were having some challenges and aren't ready for release. Interesting.
Ah, nice. Nice info.
Ricat gave the donation. Thank you so much for the Ricat. Wayne said Panasonic S1R can take 187 megapixel images in high resolution mode using that AI.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's where they do the stitching to stitch it all together.
Yeah, I thought they didn't announce yet on the megapixel count, but if you read that, that's like crazy.
Yeah. What else have we got? Ian DeBrown said, I used my Osmo Pocket at work during a planning session and everyone stared at me.
Oh, hey, you know what? Let me see. That one video, you don't have to play the video again, but the slow motion that we just showed you using my Pocket
I'll put it
Osmo
on,
like
hang on. Slow motion, yep.
Like a flip, no. Oh, yeah, the slow motion one. Look at the girl in the orange to the left, the very far left. Look at her looking at me here. Now watch. She's looking at my Osmo. She's looking at the Osmo. And look at her face, like, what?
Yeah, you could see it.
Yeah, so Mr. Brown, I forget his name, but I have the same thing with the Osmo. It's kind of funny.
I Am Brown said, hey, all hit thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you could do that, guys.
I Am Brown, that's your name. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being here, man.
What else have we got? Just reading some other things.
I got to get better at reading this chat. How do you find yourself?
Well, I just open it up from the actual live. So I've got the live on my TV above me, and then the chat shows on the right-hand side. So you look at
How do you know how do you know how far you go back though, you know?
Oh, I just scroll through it. That's really all I do. Just find things. Bevan said, when are we getting the firmware update for the Sony a7 III with the new autofocus for the Sony a6500? I believe that is in March. I know the A9
thought it was April.
coming. Yeah, it might be March, April. Yeah, somewhere around there. The A9's getting 2 versions of it. One in March, April, and then one in summer.
Didn't Gerald just say he got an A9?
Yes, he's sold his A7 III to buy the A9. I think he was so impressed with that latest update that he decided to get the A9. And I'm not surprised. A lot of people probably will do that now that the A9's dropped in price so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
With those new updates, nothing's going to beat that camera.
Yeah, if you don't need a flippy screen, that's probably the camera to get. I mean, it's just amazing. And I think Gerald has he has that lens, the 24 f1.4. Yeah, smack that on there. That's going to be amazing video and photographer setup.
Stacy said, thanks, guys. I have the Godox 8200 with the round head. 2 of them. Haven't tried them at a wedding yet. Oh,
nice. I'd like to know if they work. Let us know.
Godox, that 8200 is a great little portable light because it's so small.
Yeah, it is.
A great light for weddings and stuff that you can carry that around. It certainly is a nice light.
Yes, it is.
Oreo said, maybe because I'm old generation, but if I stop and think about that I'm in Italy watching a real-time conversation between one friend in Australia and another one in the USA, I'll get goosebumps. I know, how incredible is it?
It's amazing. I mean, I was so excited when David contacted me to do this because, you know, I wanted to get into live video, but it's like, by yourself, it's whatever. But to talk to somebody else across the world and do this stuff is absolutely amazing. So I'm happy you guys are here. It's really cool.
What else have we got there? Gerald said, Godox has a new round head coming out. Oh, I've already read that yet. Mark says, I'm a bit further up from David in Brisbane on the coast side, and the beaches require reflectors and beauty dishes for stability. Michael says, Dave has 2 monitors, though. He watches the live and keeps his eye on his ships full of bags of money.
Oh, yeah. You and your yachts.
Oh, yeah, right. I love it. Gerald said...
You're just being humble. That is your yacht. We all know it.
Gerald said, yes, guys, the update sold me on the A9, and yes, I have the 24 1.4 GM. Yeah,
that's going to be amazing setup right there.
Florio says, hey, gang, greetings from fabulous Long Island, New York. I'm switching to iPhone. The Canon CEO said that everyone takes pictures with smartphones nowadays, so Canon will focus on corporate. I know that, and I put a video up about that the other day, and it really is... I would be devastated if I was a Canon sales rep or someone like that. I really can't believe they put something out like that. What do you think about that, Aaron?
Yeah, I read that before you did actually right before you posted yours. I was reading it, and then I saw your video. It says you're my go-to guy for the info, so you always have a good outtake on things. And I just can't believe it. If you read the comments in other forums, you know, everybody's like taking the word. They use the word like the market, but we need to replace that as Canon, because I think the market's doing pretty good, at least for Sony, right? So I don't know if this kind of it's kind of weird that they put that out there.
Well, they've got to stop holding back. This is the problem. Like Canon I think the latest release, the Nikon, is definitely better than what the Canon EOS R is.
I agree.
Canon held back too much. The crop factor in that camera, no stabilization in that camera. Yes, it has a flip-out screen, but you know, come on, give their users some decent releases.
But they've always done that. All the way back when I introduced myself, I got the Canon T2i, and I had other Canons all over the place there. But every incremental update they would do is just something super small. And it wasn't until like Sony or Panasonic came along and started giving these big features but Canon's still doing that same thing. I just don't know why. They got the 1DX that they got the technology. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So. I mean, like Gian just said in the chat here, he says Canon sounds like they don't want to compete anymore. Well, I know it does give you that impression, but, you know, the thing is they've had the market to themselves for so long and they could get away with not releasing or giving mediocre releases. And the problem is now that there's so much competition out there that they can't do that anymore. And there's no excuse for what they gave their photographers with the Canon ESR, and there's rumours that they're going to release another low-end model. Like, why on earth aren't they going to release another high-end model before that comes out? Like, I don't understand them either.
Yeah, I don't either. I have no idea. But
Gerald
so their
says,
article, I believe, is right.
Yeah.
But it's for them.
Yep. Gerald says, who do you think will stay in the market in the dreary world that Canon predicts, or are they looking for an out to cover themselves? Well, they may be.
Yeah.
I think the winner out of this probably is going to be Sony. I think that they will survive. And look, this is where you laugh when you hear some people say Sony is just a... well, they're not a camera company. Well, that in one way can be a benefit
electronic
to them.
Company.
Because they have sensors, they make TVs, they do all these other things that could cover them in that case. So they have got all of these other things going all the time.
Exactly.
Canon also have that. So if they did fall out, well, then obviously they have this other mass market that they can go out to as well.
I think that's what they're
doing.
Yeah, they've got Canon printers, and they've got the security stuff and all that. So I think they're seeing their market, because of their decisions and DSLRs or whatever, go down. The other ones are going up, so they're probably maybe we should just get rid of this. But they don't have to. But
well, Nikon also have other things though, but they haven't got the market like what Canon have. So I'm a little bit worried about Nikon. I'm very worried about Olympus. I think that release, they're in trouble after that release, and just sticking with Micro Four Thirds only, I think that they may be in trouble. Hopefully Panasonic will do okay. And you look at that, I think that was a mix between Sigma, Panasonic, and Leica. So they have now merged in a way together. So I don't know, we're in for interesting times, I think. I hope everyone survives, but I think there'll be some changes.
I think so, and I think Sony is going to stay on top, because Sony has everything in the Sony a7 III. Whatever Panasonic comes out with this new S line, Sony can just come out real easy with a flip screen and any other little features, and they're back in the game. And so many people went to Sony. I don't think a lot of people is going to switch to Panasonic right away, knowing that Sony is just still right in the game, and all they need to do is one little release of a camera, and Panasonic's behind already, So
and see, the other thing too, Fuji seems to be doing well, because they've got a little niche now in their APS-C and also their medium format. So they've got quite a good niche there now. Admittedly, they haven't gone into full frame, but I think that's probably a good thing, because that now has become very competitive, and they've got more or less that lower price medium format to themselves. So Fuji seem to be doing reasonably well, as well. Pentax, I think, are in trouble as well.
Yeah, I think Fuji, if they can get, I don't know if this is possible or whatever, I haven't looked in the medium format too much, but if they can just speed those cameras up, that might be the next thing in the future, like full frame is now going. Everybody's kind of going full frame. So if those prices come down on medium format, they're going to be ahead of the game. So yeah, I think they're still going to be in, and the X-T3 is amazing. So I think they're going to be around.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, like I said, that's basically it. We hope you love your show. If you think we can improve in any way, please leave them in the description down below, because, like I said, we're learning as well. There was a couple of hiccups early on when we were going to those videos that Aron couldn't see them, and the audio glitched there, but I fixed that once we got going the second time, so it was fine. But I'd love to know your feelings on how the show went. I'm very excited about where this is going to go, because there's not really anything like it out there. Where you're having, the two working professionals sort of throwing with you guys like a bunch of mates. So I'm really excited about where this is going to go in the future. Do you want to say anything, Aron? Yeah,
and the cool thing about the show is it's photography and video. I do photography too, but it's a video photography thing. So we're going to do more tips on video as well. Yep. I've got just tons of stuff to go on, so that makes it unique. Also, a lot of the information today is always talking about camera features and gear, which everybody likes, and we know that. But by talking about the gear and giving tips and little tutorials and how the mind behind the photo, I think it's a really unique thing. So I'm hoping we get a good following and a good community here. I love the comments that I'm seeing in the chat. We want to keep everything positive. So subscribe to both of our channels. Give us some thumbs up. Next week, I'm going to try to host this thing. David's a master at it. So if there was one hiccup this time, get your popcorn out, because next week should be pretty hilarious, because I'm going to try to do it myself.
Well, it's all a learning curve, and we'll get better as the time goes on. And
Yeah, I'm excited.
The thing so the other thing too, guys, if you could share it, because we'd love to get it out there. I mean, that's also important for us doing this. So if you would share it for us, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks,
and that would be terrific. Now, if you, like I said, you're going to have to subscribe to Aron's show for next week to see the live. So please subscribe to Aron, and obviously the week after it'll be back on my show. I will be doing the normal live Sony rumours and news on Friday, so stay tuned for that. That's still going to go ahead as it is. So these two shows are going to be completely independent. The Friday show is just going to stay exactly as it is now. But, this has just given me something extra that I can really share with you guys, and I'm rapt Aron has come on board, because I really do admire his work.
Thank you.
And stay tuned for some amazing things in the future, guys. So that's about all we're going to say for today. Do you want to say goodbye, Aron?
Thanks, guys, so much for being here. And like I said, let's build this community and start learning. Like in our little tagline, it's learn, grow, and then share. And that's what we're all about. We want to learn, we want to grow, and we want to share. So please share this, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
That's all, guys. So catch you later. Bye for now.